It's called the method. Now, in the same way, if there is going to be this stages, equally well, there must be a process that the cave dweller takes as he equally ascends into the upper world. Now, I'm going to represent what he goes through, the experiences the person goes through here. The first thing that's going to occur, now I'm going to stay on the level of the myth. I shouldn't call it a myth, by the way. The allegory. I'm going to represent the cave dwellers typically experiencing the following things. At first, when they're turned around and they have to then be challenged in the quest for enlightenment, it hurts them, it puzzles them. Second, in order to continue this quest, they're going to have to be compelled to go on. There has to be some urgency behind them. They're not going to do it without being compelled. They are going to feel, again, hurt in a more serious way, and they're going to try to seek to escape back into their prior state, the unenlightened state. Therefore, they must be dragged up. They will be in great distress, and they'll often show great fury. That's a set. A, B, C. That's a set. Typical set. Next. Then, repeatedly, by going through it again, they have to get used to it. There's no way out. Then there's a stage after this they go through, and lastly, they go through yet another stage. Now, I would like to go into the language of that for a moment. All right. And let's talk about geography while we do that. All right? Geography. Geography of an allegory. So far we're talking about people going through stages and going through a process. But there must also be, as it were, the furniture of the allegory. The furniture. There's a wall. There are prisoners who are chained, fettered. They're fettered in such a way that they cannot turn around to see one another. Therefore, the only thing they see is shadows of themselves cast on the wall of the cave. They can't turn their necks around, therefore they can't see the source of other things that are flittering as shadows on the wall of that cave. And that is that there's a raised platform here where men are carrying objects on their heads. The fire beyond that, and that fire generates light which casts the images, again, shadows on the wall of the cave of these very objects. That's what we're calling the furniture. The wall, A. The shadows, B. The other set of shadows, C. The chains, D. The men fettered the way they are, E. The raised platform, F. The men who walk back and forth, G. The objects on their head, H. The fire, I. That's what we're calling the geography, the furniture of the allegory. Again, in the upper world, it is further described, and we can describe it, and we can read the story and make sure we have all the pieces in it. I happen to be very good at drawing cats, since we need animals in the upper world. And, of course, there are, curiously enough, pools of water up here. Now, this is the cave, this is the upper world. In the same way, we have to have a set of terms that identify the geography in the cave and in the upper world. Now, each one of these objects has a referent. Each one of these has a referent. It must represent something. It must represent something very significant in how it functions. It represents a function. It's an image of a function. It's an image of a function. Right? Therefore, it represents a function. It's an image of a function. Now, that's the allegory. That's the allegory. In terms of only the expansion of the number of terms, because we're now saying the unenlightened are to the cave dwellers as the enlightened are to those living in the upper world. We have now identified these terms in the geography, and now we have to introduce a drama, a story. Now, this is an allegory that reaches through 20 pages of Plato's allegory. The allegory of the cave and the upper world goes through at least 20 pages. As a matter of fact, it goes through right to the end of Book 7. But let me just deal with the principal parts for a moment. All right? I'd like to read you now a small section of it so you can see exactly where the drama enters in. I'm using the Rouse, and I may jump back into the Loeb for various reasons. So, I'm in the beginning of Book 7. Okay. Now, what does this represent? This whole thing must represent something. Remember we said there has to be some fundamental issue? It represents the condition of man in respect to only one thing. The possible development of man from unenlightened to enlightened. That's the condition of man. Therefore, it really is the condition of man's possible spiritual evolution. So let me just read you a couple of lines, and then I'm going to get into the drama. All right. Next, then, take the following parable of education and ignorance as a picture of the condition of our nature. As I said, I would prefer the unenlightened and enlightened because that is the way in which he describes it. Let me even give you a nice quote of it. The ascension and the contemplation of things above is the soul's ascension into the intelligible region. Right? That's what it is. The whole thing is the soul's contemplation of the highest levels of reality. So let me now find my quote. Okay. Imagine mankind as dwelling in an underground